Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today I'm doing a Malefic deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because I've changed up this deck a lot since the last time I profiled it. And this deck is a really fun deck to play with that just summons out all sorts of massive monsters to OTK the opponent. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like in your name description every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your Patreon. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Malefic Paradigm Dragon. This card is an extremely powerful boss monster that's super easy to summon to the field, because the way you actually summon this card is it has the ability, it must be special summoned from your hand by banishing one Malefic monster from your X deck while Malefic Paradigm Dragon is not on the field. And if Malefic World is not on the field, you destroy this card. This card is super easy to summon because all you have to do to summon this card is have a field spell on the field, which is your Malefic World, and have a copy of Malefic Paradox Dragon to banish to summon out this card, which is a really easy way to summon out this monster. But it also has the ability that once per turn, you can send a Malefic card from your deck to the graveyard to return one of your banished level 8 synchro monsters back to your X deck. Then you can special summon that monster from the X deck. Also, you can only attack with Malefic monsters for the rest of the turn. That's an extremely powerful effect to be able to put back your copies of Stardust Dragon back into the X deck, so you can summon out more Stardust Dragons to your side of the field. I then play 3 copies of Malefic Cyber End Dragon. This card is an extremely powerful boss monster for the deck that comes out at 4,000 attack points, just like your copy of Paradigm Dragon. And it has the ability, this card cannot be normal summoned or set. This card cannot be special summoned except by banishing one Cyber End Dragon from your X deck. And there can only be one face-up Malefic monster on the field, and other monsters that you control cannot declare attacks. And if there is no face-up field spell card on the field, you destroy this card. And this card is super easy to summon because all you have to do is banish that Cyber End Dragon from the X deck, but it also is a really powerful card when you have Malefic Territory on the field to get rid of those downside effects to this card. I then play 3 copies of Malefic Stardust Dragon. Malefic Stardust Dragon is a crazy powerful card in this deck because this card has a similar effect to your Cyber End Dragon, but it has a bonus effect as well to protect your field spells. Because this card has the ability, this card cannot be normal summoned or set. This card can only be special summoned by banishing a Stardust Dragon from your extra deck. And there can only be one face of Malefic monster on the field, and field spell cards cannot be destroyed by card effects, which is a really powerful effect to be able to protect your Malefic world. And other monsters you control cannot declare an attack, and if there is no face-up field spell card on the field, you destroy this card. This card is super powerful to be able to summon to the field to give you that added protection on top of your Malefic world. I then play a single copy of Malefic Truth Dragon. This card is nuts. It comes out at 5,000 attack points and it's just absolutely huge. This card is a great one-of in the deck, but you only need a single copy of this card, but it has a really insane effect that this card cannot be normal summoned or set. This card cannot be special summoned except by its own effect, and if a face-up Malefic monster except Malefic Truth Dragon is destroyed by battle or by card effect, you can pay half your life points to special summon this card from your hand or graveyard. And there can only be one face-up Malefic monster on the field, and if there's no face-up field spell card on the field, destroy this card. And if this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, destroy all monsters that your opponent controls, which is an awesome effect just to be able to destroy multiple monsters on the field with a 5,000 attack point monster. This card is absolutely crazy powerful and just a really good card overall. I then play 3 copies of Malefic Parallel Gear. Malefic Parallel Gear is the tuner of the deck to help us synchro summon into some really interesting cards. But this card has the ability that while using this card as synchro material, the other synchro monster or other synchro materials is one Malefic monster in your hand, so you can actually use your Malefic monsters in the hand to be able to synchro summon, where you only have to normal summon out this card to be able to synchro, which is super cool. I then play 3 copies of Malefic Paradox Gear. Paradox Gear is a really neat card as well, because if a face-up field spell card is on the field, you can tribute this card to special summon out a Parallel Gear from your deck. Then add a Malefic monster from your deck to your hand, except another copy of this card. And if a Malefic monster would banish a monster to special summon itself by its own effect, then you can banish this card you control or in your graveyard instead, which makes it super easy to be able to summon out cards like Paradigm Dragon, Cyber End Dragon, or even Stardust Dragon in this deck. So this card is a definite 3 of in this build. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Terraforming. We want to get to our copy of Malefic World as quickly as possible. So this card is a definite one of in this deck. I then play a single copy of Malefic Divide. This card is a really interesting card because it lets you target a Malefic monster in the graveyard and special summon it, ignoring its summoning conditions. But its effects are negated and also banish it during the end phase. This card is really good to be able to bring back some extremely powerful monsters from the graveyard. I then play 2 copies of Malefic Selector. Malefic Selector is a really neat card in the deck because you banish 2 Malefic cards from your graveyard to add 2 Malefic cards from your deck to your hand, except Malefic Selector with different names from each other and from the cards that you banished. This card is really neat because it can search out a bunch of cards, but it's only really good later in the game, which is why I play 2 copies of this card instead of 3. I then play 3 copies of our field spell, and the card we want to get to extremely quickly, and it's going to be 3 copies of Malefic World. This card is the key piece of the entire deck. This card is so important in this deck and a key combo piece, and it's super important to have this card on your side of the field so you have multiple ways to get to it. It has a really neat effect as well. Now, while this card is faceable on the field, you can activate this effect instead of conducting your normal draw phase. You can choose 3 Malefic cards in your deck and have your opponent pick one of them and add it randomly to your hand, which is really cool to be able to just randomly pick one of 3 Malefic cards and add it to your hand. And it's really cool to be able to get those cards to the hand because you're going to give your opponent a choice between those 3 cards and be able to get one of 3 extremely powerful cards off this card's effect. I then play 3 copies of Malefic Territory. Malefic Territory is a crazy powerful card that we want to see first in this deck. This card is so important in the deck to be able to get to because it has the ability that when this card is activated, you can activate a Malefic World from your deck. And then while that card is in the field spell zone, neither player can target a cards in the field spell zone with card effects, which is a really good effect to be able to protect your Malefic World. It also has the ability that the Malefic monster effect, that there is only one face-up Malefic monsters on the field, or there can only be one Malefic monster on the field, is negated and becomes there can only be one face-up Malefic monster on the field with the same name, which is really cool because it means you can summon out multiple Malefic monsters to your side of the field with different names. And it also has the ability that when this card is on the field, that during the battle phase, negate the effects of face-up Malefic monsters on the field, meaning that they can all attack, which is super cool to be able to just attack with all your Malefic monsters. I then play 3 copies of Allure of Darkness. Allure of Darkness is really good in the deck because we play so many dark monsters in this deck. To be able to just draw 2 and banish a card is just really, really good. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to be playing a single copy of Malefic Tune. Malefic Tune is a really awesome tech card in the deck. I really like this card overall as a one of because it has the ability if a face-up Malefic monsters you control is destroyed by battle or by an opponent's card effect, you get to draw 2 cards. And if a face-up Malefic monster you control is destroyed while this card is in your graveyard, except during the damage step, then you can banish this card from your graveyard to add a Malefic monster from your deck to your hand, which is a pretty good effect to be able to search any Malefic card or any Malefic monster. I then play a single copy of Metaverse. Metaverse is really good as a one of because it gets you to your copy of Malefic World extremely quickly. This card is just an additional copy of Malefic World to be able to get to that card. I then play some Floodgates in the deck, so I'm going to be playing 3 copies of Goes and Match. Goes and Match is a really powerful card in the deck because it has the ability each player can only control 1 attribute of monsters, which we're pretty much only playing dark in this deck, so this card doesn't really hurt us and it can hurt the opponent a lot, so this card is really good. I then play 3 copies of Rivalry of Warlords. Rivalry of Warlords is just super fun to play in this deck because each player can only control 1 type of monster, which is a awesome effect because if we want to, we can just control dragons in the deck or just control machines. So this card can come in extremely handy, give us 1 really powerful monster on the field to help us go in for game against the opponent. I like playing Goes and Match a little bit more than Rivalry, but this card still comes in handy to stop the opponent because in certain matchups, this card can be crazy. I then play 3 copies of Skill Drain. Skill Drain is really good in the deck because it turns off the effects of every single Malefic monster that we control, which is absolutely crazy, by just paying 1,000 life points. This card really helps us in this deck and can really stop the opponent in their tracks. And by playing Rivalry, Skill Drain, and Gozen Match, you're going to stop the opponent in their tracks while summoning out some extremely large monsters to help you go in for game. So I absolutely love playing this lineup in the deck, and I love playing all of these floodgates. It's super fun. It's really good to be able to play these cards in the deck because it can stop the opponent. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Malefic Paradox Dragon. You're usually using this card with your copy of your Malefic Paradigm Dragon, but it does have a really interesting effect that it does take a Parallel Gear plus a Malefic monster, which will be your Stardust Dragon that you use to summon this card. And when this card is Synchro Summoned, you can select a Synchro monster in either player's graveyard and special summon it. And there can only be one face-up Malefic Paradox Dragon on the field, and if a Malefic World is not on the field, you destroy this card. This card is a really neat card because it does come out at 4,000 attack points, but usually we're just summoning out our copy of Malefic Paradigm Dragon using this card. Then play a single copy of Ruddy Rose Dragon. This card is just a great level 10 monster that we can summon to our side of the field, and it's a really neat card overall because if this card is synchro summoned, you can manage all cards in the graveyard, which is a really nice effect depending on your matchup. Then play a single copy of Baron de Fleur. Baron de Fleur is a really good card in the deck because it is a walking negate. You don't have to play this card in this particular build. You can drop it if you're looking for a more budget option. You can play the Supreme Sovereign Sword Soul monster that is a level 10 synchro water monster, which is a really good option for you guys. I then play a single copy of Geomathmech Final Sigma. This card is insane if you put it in the extra monster zone because it's unaffected by the effects except Mathmech cards while in the extra monster zone, which is a really good effect, and it's super easy to summon because you just use your copy of Parallel Gear plus a level 10 Malefic monster to summon out this card. I then play 2 copies of Stardust Dragon. Stardust Dragon is so we can summon out Malefic Stardust Dragon to our side of the field. Same thing with our copy of Cyber End Dragon. We're using this card to summon out our Malefic Cyber End Dragon from our deck, or from our hand, which is a really awesome effect. I then play a single copy of Super Dreadnought Cannon Gustav Max. Gustav Max just does 2,000 burn damage to the opponent, so this card is a really good card in the deck and really easy to summon because you play so many level 10s. I then play a single copy of number 81 because you basically just play this card so you can go into your copy of Juggernaut Libby, and depending on your matchup, this card can actually help you go for your copy of Zeus, which is really nice. I then play a single copy of Juggernaut Libby. Juggernaut Libby is absolutely massive, and you can throw it on top of either one of your Super Dreadnought Rail Cannons. So this card just comes out and it's absolutely massive, just in case you need that little bit more push, because this card can go up to 6,000 attack points. And then play a single copy of number 35. You play this card so you can make your copy of number 77, and then you play number 77 because you can make Zeus on top of it to give it an additional material with your copy of number 35, which is really, really nice. This is a really good lineup to be able to play 35, 77 into Zeus because it comes out at 4,000 attack points, and you don't have to waste your copy of your Super Dreadnought Rail Cannons to make this card, which is really nice. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed. It's a really fun deck to be able to play with. If you guys have never played with Malefic before, you definitely should give this deck a try because it is absolutely crazy. How many monsters you can summon out from this deck with like 4,000 attack points, just go in for game. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can come part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.